It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. I'm the president of Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting. You can find a link to my work at emailrevealer.com. You can also go there and get an autographed copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. But if you need an adoption investigation or locate or online infidelity investigation, any kind of digital forensics, recover deleted text messages, you go to emailrevealer.com. and get a hold of me there. This show is brought to you by CartKing.com. Get a hold of them at 1-877-986-7771. Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Perhaps your current business wants to add multiple point-of-sale locations across the country quickly. Like if you have a product or something you want to sell or a business you want to promote, you could be in 25 malls across the country in a matter of weeks. Maybe the facility you manage could kickstart revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Own a large office building, a factory, a high-traffic area, a hospital. You can put a coffee kiosk there in the lobby and make a fortune. CartKing.com can be the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail coffee carts and food carts that money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients and corporations across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application, from large, heated, secure outdoor retail or food kiosks, like the ones you see by the baseball Little League field there. They're selling hot dogs and stuff like that, to smaller, more mobile coffee kiosks and coffee stations. CartKing.com designs and builds them all. You go to their website, CartKing.com, you get some ideas. They'll help you design it. They'll build it. They ship it worldwide. Check them out at www.cart-king.com. Give them a call at 877-986-7771. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you and you get a good deal. Okay, we just had a conversation the other day with Nathan Forrest Winters, who was the young man. He was in the movie Clown House. You can check out his website, nathanforrestwinters.com. He just came out with a film called The Babysitter. Now, we have with us today the filmmaker behind, the director behind The Babysitter, Connor Frazier. Connor, are you there?
Hi.
Okay, great. All right, Connor, tell us about yourself. Who is Connor Frazier?
Connor Frazier, I guess Connor Frazier is creative. I've wanted to make films since I was 4 years old, and it's just something that kind of, it never left me. So this is my first thing. I mean, I've worked on other, smaller projects, but this is the first thing that I've actually done on my own, taking the reins on. So, I guess I like monster movies and cartoons, and I like directing.
and you're still a young man, so this is like hopefully this is going to be your career, right?
Yes, I'm 21.
Yeah, 21. God bless you, man. Let me tell you, enjoy every day. Okay, I'm 55 years old. No, I mean, you get to the end of your life, there's so many things you wish you had done. 55 years old, and just I'm starting. I'm looking at my mortality. 21 years old, you got the whole world ahead of you, man. God bless you.
Well, thank you.
Now, what is it that got you attracted to this story? Because like I said, you're a young guy. What would bring you to such a horrific tale as a Nathan Forrest Winters, molested from the age of 6 years old to 11 years old by this creep, Victor Silva. What brought you to this?
Well, I mean, like I said, I like monster movies. So when I was little, it was one of the Jeepers Creepers was one of those films that you could watch, at 10 years old, and it wasn't a problem. It was something, it was cartoonish enough that you could get away with it at a young age, and your parents wouldn't complain. So, it's something that a lot of people, when I was growing up, it was the early 2000s when I was really little, and it was something everybody knew about, Freddy, Jason, and the Creeper, and so I'd known about the series, and I had looked the guy up, and I'd seen like 11 years old. I'd looked him up and said, oh, he was a convicted child molester, Nathan Forrest Winters, and nobody really knows what happened to Nathan Winters. So, move forward a couple of years, and here we are. And I'm kind of just getting done working on another project with a friend of mine who's a filmmaker locally with me here in Roanoke, and I said, I really want to direct my own thing. I think I'm ready to do that. And so I looked him back up again just out of curiosity, because you see it a lot, especially if you follow horror movies. It comes up a lot. Victor Salva, should we forgive Victor Salva, what have you. And you never really saw much about Nathan. It was always, when nobody really knows, maybe he was bought out, it was almost like there was this mystery, there's like this air of mystery surrounding him. And so that made me really curious, because I'm like, okay, this guy is essentially just gone off the radar. I want to track him down.
Yeah.
So I found him on Facebook, and I messaged him, and I said, hey, I was like, are you the real Nathan Forrest Winters? And he was like, no, I said, are you the real Nathan Winters? And he said, Nathan Forrest Winters, to be exact. He was kind of trolling me a little bit at the beginning, because he didn't know what my motives were. And once he knew that I was legit, he was much more open, and we talked for a while. We would spend hours on the telephone talking, and I said, I really want to do a movie. I don't really know what I want to do. I just know that I want to do it. So that's how it started.
Yeah, interesting. I kind of found him the same way on Facebook. I had a guest on the show, Mike Parziale, who is an expert on these child abuse cases in Hollywood. I have him on all the time now. And he told me this story about Nathan with Francis Ford Coppola and stuff like that. And then I contacted him on Facebook. I said, you want to do a show? He came right on the show. 2 hours, been a fascinating interview, an amazing story. Now, but you've spent, incredible. Now, and really untold. It's an untold story.
Yeah.
People have no idea that Coppola's involvement, or that this kid was sued. First he was molested, then sued by the movie company. Now, but you've spent a lot of time with Nathan. So why don't you tell us the story of what happened to Nathan as you know it?
Starting at the age of 6, Nathan's mother had a friend whose child was at a daycare center, and she had told Rebecca, Nathan's mom, that there was this guy named Victor who worked there with the kids, and he was like an amateur filmmaker, and he was working on this project called Goblin's Gold. It was like a short film. And he was having a hard time finding somebody to make the dummy, like the dummy head for the goblin. Like he couldn't find somebody that could do the prop. And she said, well, Rebecca, she dabbles in crafts and all that. And so Rebecca did the goblin for him, and that's how they got in touch. That's kind of, he would, I guess, come over, and Nathan was there, and he started to kind of move towards Nathan and try to, I guess, gain his confidence. And they became friendly. It was the whole thing of like, okay, well, you're busy, you've got a lot on your hands, you've got 2 kids, let me take Nathan for the night, I'll take him to see a movie, we'll go to the park, or, and it progressed to, let's have him over to my house for the weekend. And, it was the 80s, it was the early 80s, nobody was worried about it back then, it's kind of sad, because nowadays everybody's really paranoid about it. But back then, nobody was. There was like an innocence. It was still pretty fresh, the idea of, child abductions and sexual abuse. It was fresh in people's minds. This was still kind of Mayberry, even in California. So it started at 6, and it just kind of progressed from there. And I think he said it was about a year in where Victor first abused him. it started with him. They were watching a film. They were watching The Jungle Book, the 1960s cartoon, and Nathan was like dancing to one of the songs, and Victor said, "You want me to make you a loincloth, like the main character?" And he stripped Nathan naked and took 2 bandanas and tied them together and wrapped them around his waist. And we actually did that. We kind of, I guess, I don't know, dramatized that in the movie a little bit. Not really, not with a kid or anything, but we took that, and Nathan actually did. He took bandanas and tied them around the waist of a dummy that we had to kind of represent, okay, this is what he did. And then it progressed to things like, oral sex, or, he would film Nathan flipping through pornography, trying to get him aroused, and he would film him giving him oral sex. Victor would film Nathan giving Victor oral sex. And it just kind of, went like that for a long time until Clown House. And, they filmed Clown House. Well, first off, they did something in the basement. That was a short film. And it was about like a young boy whose brother is off at war, and he's like terrified of this monster in the basement. It's like a psychological horror film. I've never seen it, just taking from what Nathan told me. And so that was the first thing, and that was submitted to the Sony Video Festival or Film Festival, I don't remember. And Francis Coppola was one of the judges, and he saw the film, he liked it, and he asked Victor, do you have any scripts for like low budget horror films? Because Francis Coppola was brought up in low budget. He worked with Roger Corman, and that was, in the early days, that's how he got his start. He did Dementia 13, low budget horror movie. So he asked Victor, do you have any? And he said, I've got Clown House. And he gave him, the numbers vary for how much money, but I mean, for the most part, people say it was $1 million to do Clown House. And so they did that, and I think at that point, that's when people, that was when it was really out in the open. For the most part, it had been quiet, and there weren't many people that knew, except really Victor and Nathan, and maybe, you could speculate close friends of Victor's. But Clown House was when, you had people on set that were seeing that, Nathan would jump on Victor's lap, or kiss him on the cheek, or something like that. And they were kind of like quietly nudging the issue. A lot of people were silent about it, but some people were kind of quietly nudging the issue with Rebecca, until Rebecca essentially sat Nathan down and made him talk. And by the time production wrapped up, they'd already pressed charges, and Victor was arrested during post-production. So that's kind of like the time span of it, between the ages of 6 and 12.
But you're saying that Nathan, the people were witnessing obviously inappropriate behavior between these two, and some of them were silent about it?
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, most people were. I mean, this was a low-budget film. Nobody wanted to lose their job, for a lot of people, it was like their start. It was this low-budget, thing, but it was their start. Francis Coppola had produced it. It was a big deal. Victor had gone from these little, half-hour, low-budget, almost like Z-grade horror films to doing something with an actual budget where they could actually do things and make a name for themselves.
I can understand that. It's amazing, though, that no one anonymously called up Child Protective Services and made a report about this.
I think it's, the regular, it's the psychology in Hollywood, is that everybody is out to get something, and you could jeopardize that, if you say something, especially when it's the director, when it's one of the, the big guys, on set. It's not just a, crew member, This guy wrote it, and he's directing it,
Right. Now, was Silva also openly doing this, or was he trying to play it down and telling, hey, Nathan, take it easy?
I think he was pretty open about it. I mean, it wasn't like they were very flamboyant about it, but it was just small things, like, sitting on the director's lap, or,
right,
giving him a kiss on the cheek. I don't know, if some people, maybe some people just didn't see the correlation or what, because Victor's very flamboyant. I mean, if you watch him on the set of like Jeepers Creepers 2, on the bonus for the DVD, there's like a behind the scenes of them, like a day shooting the film, and he's very flamboyant. There was like some kid in the film named Drew, and he'd go, "Drew, baby," So maybe nobody knew what to expect. Maybe that was Victor, Victor's gay, and maybe they just kind of assumed, okay, this is how he is, or I don't know. Like, it's really hard to wrap your head around why nobody would say anything.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like you mentioned, like you said too, it was a different time back then. The show was like today. If I want to have a sleep, my daughter, she's 18 now, but when she was a young girl and they want to have a sleepover, like everything was everything had to be checked out. And they come in the house, and look around. It's like it's a whole new world than it was back in the 80s, man. That's for sure. Now you mentioned that Silva was filming him with pornography and oral sex. Was he charged with making those films?
I think so. See, it's really odd. The issue with the charges was that he was charged on 11 counts, and he was only convicted on 4.
Right.
And I think I don't know. The last time I looked at his charges, I think it did mention filming, but I don't think that was the majority of it. I think, the majority of it was that he was touching him and, doing what he was doing. He should have been convicted on all of them, but he received a plea bargain without Nathan or his family's knowledge
all right.
at that point. It was all very under the table.
Most of these cases, the average case of child molestation in the United States is a conviction, a sentence of 8 years. And they do about 3.5 years of that time, and then they get after 3.5 years. But in this case, he didn't even have to do any. He did a fraction of that, and it was in a hospital. It wasn't even in a prison.
Yeah. I remember reading an interview with Victor that was in the LA Times when he was doing the press rounds for Peaceful Warrior back in 2006, and he had said that when I was going into jail, Francis told me, "This will make you a better artist," almost like Victor was a martyr. And that always struck me as really, funny, kind of sick. This is where his head was at. It's like you've molested this kid, but hey, you're an artist, and this is going to help you.
And that's just fascinating. And a whole other side to Francis Ford Coppola that I don't think anybody that they still haven't heard of. We've done a couple of stories on it here, but you don't hear this talked about anywhere. And most people who talk about this story think that Nathan met Victor on the set of that film, and it was a one-time incident. This wasn't like a life. The majority of his childhood was he was victimized by this man.
You see that a lot. Yeah, I mean, when I had first read about it, it was like, yeah, this happened on the set.
Right.
Almost like the way the picture is painted in some of the articles, it was like, okay, so maybe everyone was gone for the day and he did it on the set. No, he had been doing it for 6 years, in his home. And I don't think he ever did it on the set, but he was definitely touchy-feely.
Yeah, and Nathan had also mentioned, too, because I just interviewed him, that Victor Silva, previous to being a filmmaker, was working in preschools and stuff like that too. So he was one of those characters who sought this out. This was a lifestyle for him to search out victims. We got to take a little commercial break with Connor Frazier, and you can find Connor Frazier on Facebook, and it's spelled CONNAR. FRAZIER. So it's easy to find Connor Frazier, and he's a friend of Nathan Forrest Winters. You can find the trailer to this film at nathanforrestwinters.com. And Connor and Nathan are working on this thing here. It's called Taking Action, Breaking Silence. And it's a new tabs. It's going to be the hashtag Taking Action, Breaking Silence. And there's a GoFundMe for that. They're trying to raise funds to get out there and get this film in festivals and traveling expenses. But their ultimate goal is to have a foundation where they can. Nathan was just saying he wants They have like a hotline and stuff like that where kids can call in or people can call in and make these reports. Because let me tell you something else. Called Child Protective Services. It's a hurdle with those guys to get them to do anything. But we'll be back with more of Connor Frazier, the director behind The Babysitter, brand new documentary film about the story about Nathan Forrest Winters and his abuse at the hands of Victor Silva, but also too. Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Perhaps your current business wants to add multiple point-of-sale locations across the country quickly. Maybe the facility you manage could kickstart revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Well, CartKing.com can be the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail, coffee, and food carts and kiosks money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients and corporations across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application, from large, heated, and secure outdoor retail or food kiosks to smaller, more mobile coffee station carts. CartKing.com designs and builds them all. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on the website. Please visit them today at CartKing.com. That's cart-king.com. Or just call them at 1-877-986-7771. That's 877-986-7771. The Opperman Report is brought to you by SubhashTechnosis.com. Subash Technosis is a search engine optimization and website design company located in India. So you know you're going to save a lot of money and get top quality service to boot. They offer all kinds of services, business process outsourcing, data entry, banking BPO services, recruitment process outsourcing, software testing, offshore research networking, customer care, press release content writing and distribution, and much, much more. They offer website development, e-commerce solutions, mobile responsive designs. Now, I've personally worked with Subhash for over 10 years. This is the man that puts out my press releases. They've done work on my websites, so I can personally recommend SubhashTechnosis.com. You can find the link to Subash Technosis at OppermanReport.com and also AwakeRadio.us.
People are waking up. They're standing up to those pushing pesticides and GMOs as safe alternatives for a starving world. What about your crap? I tell you, I'd rather eat dirt. So I drink Life Change Tea. It's an herbal drink, cleansing my body of toxic sludge and nasty chemicals, and of course, ridding the intruders that are hidden in my so-called food. And by the way, Life Change Tea is non-GMO and organic. No fillers, no yuck. Just a great defense against you-know-what. May the supplement force awaken you. Don't fall to the dark side. Sorry. I went to the movies last night. Anyway, enough said. How do you get that herbal drink and change your life? GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. You will awaken. You will get stronger, and you might even lose a bit of weight. So awaken to Life Change Tea and the many one-of-a-kind supplements at GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. May the supplement force be with you.
We all have questions. Did he do it or did he not? We all have opinions, but do we really know the truth? New evidence will now be presented and the ultimate answers will be revealed in the explosive documentary, Serpents Rising. Inspired by the bestseller Double Cross for Blood, an independent investigation of the trial of the century, the lies, the myths, and the concealed evidence. Don't miss Serpents Rising.
This excellent documentary film is available at Serpents Rising at Vimeo Videos on demand. Watch it for $1.99. You can have your ad played here at OppermanReport.com every Friday night, 5 p.m., and Saturday night, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And on Friday nights, too, we do a live portion for 1 hour that I just do a live monologue. The ads are very, very inexpensive, and they're also played in the Opperman Report member section. In the member section, you can find all kinds of exclusive content that you won't find anywhere else. It's as cheap as $6 a month, $20 a quarter, or $75 for a year. If you contact me directly at OppermanReport@gmail.com, I'll set you up with a little special deal there where you get a discount if you PayPal me directly, and you even get a copy of my book. I want to thank William Ramsey, who helps us produce the show and book guests. You can find William Ramsey, who's an excellent author, at William Ramsey Investigates on YouTube. Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. We're here today with Connor Frazier, who's the director behind the movie The Babysitter. It's a documentary film about Nathan Forrest Winters, the young boy that was molested by Victor Silva. Now, Connor, spending so much time with Nathan, what do you think has affected him more? What do you think has harmed Nathan more, the actual abuse or the way he was treated afterwards with the lawsuit? I know one thing he always mentions about the Contra Costa Times printing his name as a kid. Can you imagine that? What do you think's affected him more, the actual abuse, with his relationship with Silva, or what they did to him after?
That's difficult. I think it really depends. Each day, it's a struggle. And I think each day it's something different. He's pretty much gotten over any kind of resentment or bitterness that he may have had early on, but it never stops hurting, and I think it really just depends. It depends on where his head is at. I think he really wants to tackle all of it, He wants justice for every aspect of it. For his family, I think the Contra Costa Times issue and the sentence, those things probably hurt the most for them.
Yeah.
But I think for Nathan, it's a combination of everything, just bundled up, and it's terrible.
Yeah, we're talking Connor Frazier, the director behind The Babysitter. You can find a trailer to this at nathanforrestwinters.com. And don't forget, too, there's a GoFundMe. I close that up. There's a GoFundMe at, where is this thing? I got the slowest computer in the world. Here we go. Taking Action Breaking Silence. If you go to GoFundMe, and they're trying to raise money for awareness and stuff like that, have a little foundation going there. Now, what can we? It's a documentary style film. What are we going to find when we watch this film?
It's not going to be what you expect. That's the first thing. Documentary is very loose. It's almost kind of like, it's almost like a form of art therapy. It's very experimental. It's not, when we set out to do it, that was something we both agreed on, was that we don't want it to be like Nathan sitting under a light crying. We don't want it to be anything like that. So there isn't really any fancy lighting. There's no script. It was shot, with a cheap camera, and it was essentially me and him in a hotel room, kind of shacked up, not really leaving except for food and smokes, and playing with dolls. It was like this form of art therapy. We had mannequins. We had like 5 different mannequins of varying sizes, but they were all child mannequins. And we had paints, and we had like strobe lights. It was Halloween time, so we were picking up all these different Halloween related things, lights and whatever else. We had masks, a couple like Halloween masks, and it was really just a combination of these different elements. So it was helping Nathan, I think. If he was sitting there just talking, it would have been a lot more difficult, and he would have squirmed a little bit more, I think. Because it is something, it was something he really had to go back into his mind and pull out, from 30 years ago. It's stuff that the brain tries to push to the back. So I think being in that environment and having a little space to breathe and to create something out of it, I think kind of help to exercise the demons a little bit.
Yeah. I would definitely encourage the audience to go back and find the first interview I did with Nathan Forrest Winters. It was a 2-hour interview, and he just sounds so grounded. And we went into every little detail of the story. It was 2 hours long. And he really seems to have recovered from all this, too, as one. He's a great spokesman for this kind of topic. Now, when you were since you've been announced that you're working on this and now you're submitting it to festivals and stuff like that, have you been contacted by like any of the other people like in this field, like the people from An Open Secret or people from Corey Feldman's camp or anything like that, trying to coordinate with you?
We've talked to a few people. We've kind of rushed, bumped elbows with Corey Feldman, but there's a lot of stuff going on with him that's kind of, a little worrisome. So we try to keep our distance. I have no doubt that he was molested, but, it's just one of those Hollywood cases where, drugs take over and, motives kind of come into question. It's sad, really.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you 100%. I had on Judy Haim. Haim was the first? Okay, Corey Haim's mother. I had her on the show. Yeah. And then I had on all the Corey Feldman Angels, who were on that tour with him and stuff like that. I covered that story extensively from cover to cover. I talked to I got involved in that bunch, man, more than I want to. And I concur with you on that, man. That's a circus you really don't want to be connected to. But what about oh my God. And this is why I was saying in the last show with Nathan. Here's a guy who's a spokesperson. He's trying to raise funds. Corey Feldman raised like several $100,000. And here's a guy, here's a guy, he's naming names. He's not asking, secret, he's naming names, and he's a legitimate, stable spokesperson for this kind of thing. If you want to donate, go to this, what is this thing? I keep forgetting. Taking Action, Breaking Silence, GoFundMe. They only want $15,000. They barely raised $150, guys. And I know there's a lot of good-hearted people out there that want to support these kind of efforts, expose these kind of things. Everybody's all on board nowadays. But get in the right direction here. Taking Action, Breaking Silence, and GoFundMe. Get behind Nathan Forrest Winters and Connor Frazier here that are actually, where the money's going, too. It's not going all over the place.
We shot the film for $4,000, and the majority of that went to the hotel and airfare. I mean, we literally maybe had $500 that we spent on the rest of it.
I was asking Nathan too. Has there been any kind of threats or kind of attempts to buy your silence from these powerful people that would obviously be damaged by the negative publicity from this film?
No, and that's something I've talked about with him. It's kind of surprising. We do know that Victor knows about it.
Right.
And we've actually had people that are, we had one person that was kind of close to him who was talking to us. It was nothing, it didn't seem like anything insidious. I mean, we kept our distance on certain topics, but he seemed like he was genuinely interested in knowing, because he said, look, I don't have the heart to ask Victor about what happened. He didn't ask us about, what we were doing with the film. He didn't ask us anything that would make us suspicious. It seemed like he was genuinely interested to know. We had fans of Victor's who would message us and argue with us about it, saying that we were out for money and whatever else. And a lot of people would ask, what more is there to be said about it? Well, there's a lot, like the Francis Coppola thing. Nobody knows about that. Nobody knows that Francis paid for Victor's lawyers. Nobody knows that.
How can someone say?
There's particular details that I think need to be aired out.
Yeah, how can somebody say what more needs to be said when nothing's been said about this case at all? I was the second person to interview Nathan, and the one before that was but I was like the second person to interview. I see now he's got a few interviews out there, but this story was unknown. Yeah. And when I did the show with Victor, everyone thought that this was that they met on the set of the scene. No one knows the Francis Ford Coppola angle of all this. Tell us how much Coppola has done to support Silva. After the crimes were uncovered.
His lawyers, he sued Nathan's family, and he told Nathan, this is nothing that we could ever verify on paper, so it's nothing we really talked about in the film. We tried to keep it to where, okay, if this stuff can be verified with documents, then we'll talk about it, but if there's stuff, because we don't want to get sued. But Nathan has a recollection where he said that Francis told him, you will never work in this industry again. He was pissed. Yeah. When Nathan had to go do the dubbing for the film, Nathan's aunt took him to do the dubbing, and she said you could just cut the tension with a knife because it was done on Coppola's estate. You could cut the tension with a knife.
And what's the significance that it was done on Coppola's estate? This was the same location where he had been molested?
This was the same location they had shot some of the film. The exteriors of the house were Coppola's. And it was just, Coppola and Victor had kind of, collaborated on this. Francis gave Victor resources. And that was one of them, you can come here and record the dubs, And after, once filming had wrapped up. This was during post-production, and Victor had already been arrested.
How did Victor get bailed out? Do we know who put up the bail money?
I don't know if he did get bailed out. I think he stayed in jail for the majority of it. The only thing I know of is that he went to jail, and then once the trial took place, there was a point where they had told Nathan's mother, you guys don't have to come to court today. Victor's going to be out of town doing a psych evaluation. And they were actually in the judge's chambers signing a plea bargain because Nathan's own lawyer had forged a document, essentially forging, because he said that, I've spoken to my clients and they do not want Victor to go to prison. Which was not true. They never said that. So that was, for me, I don't know if he got bailed out, but to me that is getting bailed out. I mean, that is getting bailed out. Like going in, blatantly lying, and spending 1.5 to 2 years in a mental health, facility.
And Coppola paid for his legal defense.
Yeah. And he told him when he went in, he said, "This will make you a better artist. Remember that." That was like his mantra while he was gone, was this is going to make you a better artist.
Has Coppola ever explained why he paid for his legal fees?
No. Coppola, for the most part, stays out of it, but when he does defend Victor, his argument is always Victor was a child himself. Victor was 29 and Nathan was 12 when they were filming. Well, 11 when they were filming. He was 12 by the time he had been convicted.
He was 8 years older than you are today, right? You know what I mean?
But apparently he was a child in Francis Coppola.
Right.
He was a child. They were both children,
Yeah.
It was all very innocent.
Just fascinating. And Coppola also, too, wanted Silva to be released early so that he could attend the premiere? I'm
not sure. Like, the details are sketchy. You get a different story. Everybody has their own recollections. Nathan's got his. Rebecca's got hers. His aunt has hers. There are so many different. Those are like the three key players, and Nathan's stepfather, of course. You've got Dan, Rebecca, and his aunt. Those are like the key players in this. And each one of them has like their own recollection. I don't really know. I know he didn't attend the premiere. I don't believe he did. But I also know Nathan was not allowed to attend it. He was the only one that wasn't invited.
Oh, my God.
And he was the lead.
They victimized him twice. Now, Coppola has funded other films of Silva's after this?
Yeah. American Zoetrope has their hands on, I think, all the Jeepers Creepers films. They actually, with the third one that just came out, because Victor couldn't find anybody to take it on, Francis just kind of took it over, and said, okay, here, we're going to get this thing made. Because nobody wanted it. Times have changed, and the internet has not been kind, to Victor Silva. So it seems like every time he makes another movie, it's harder and harder to get it out.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be nice if one of these times when Francis Ford Coppola is being interviewed, especially about his legacy and stuff that has gone on in years now, that someone would bring this up and say, hey, what is your reasoning behind this? What is your excuse? How do you sleep at night? To take the side of the abuser over this kid.
It's so difficult. You know, and that's the thing, his legacy. You know, I think it's very hard for people to touch it. I mean, it was hard for me. You know, I've never been like a huge Francis Coppola fan, but you know, when you're a film buff, you know that there are certain people that you have to kind of revere. You know, you've got Martin Scorsese, Steven Spielberg, Francis Coppola. You know, Alfred Hitchcock, whoever. So it's hard to touch them, and I hate it. You know, to some extent. You know, I enjoy, you know, Sofia Coppola, you know, his daughter. She's made some films that I really enjoy. But it's hard to look at them the same way. Like the entire family, you know, it's hard to look at them the same way.
No, I hear you, man. I used to be a big Woody Allen fan, you know, but you can't watch it without thinking, you know, and it's a shame too. We got to take a commercial break. We're with Connor Fraser, who's the director behind The Babysitter. Which is a documentary-esque type film. Hey, can you get me a screener to this film? I'd love to see it. Guess not. Connor Fraser. You can find him on Facebook. CONNAR FRAIZER. Connor Fraser, the director. You can watch a what's that thing called? A trailer at NathanForrestWinters.com. And don't forget, too, their GoFundMe is called Taking Action, Breaking Silence. We'll be right back with more of Connor Fraser after these messages. And by the way, I had him on mute. That's why he didn't answer me. So Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Perhaps your current business wants to add multiple point-of-sale locations across the country quickly. Maybe the facility you manage could kickstart revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Well, CartKing.com can be the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail, coffee, and food carts and kiosks money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients and corporations across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application, from large, heated, and secure outdoor retail or food kiosks to smaller, more mobile coffee station carts. CartKing.com designs and builds them all. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on the website. Please visit them today at CartKing.com. That's cart-king.com. Or just call them at 1-877-986-7771. That's 877-986-7771. The Opperman Report is brought to you by SubhashTechnosis.com. Subash Technosis is a search engine optimization and website design company located in India. So you know you're going to save a lot of money and get top quality service to boot. They offer all kinds of services, business process outsourcing, data entry, banking BPO services, recruitment process outsourcing, software testing, offshore research networking, customer care, press release content writing and distribution, and much, much more. They offer website development, e-commerce solutions, mobile responsive designs. Now, I've personally worked with Subhash for over 10 years. This is the man that puts out my press releases. They've done work on my websites, so I can personally recommend SubhashTechnosis.com. You can find the link to Subhash Technosis at OppermanReport.com and also AwakeRadio.us.
People are waking up. They're standing up to those pushing pesticides and GMOs as safe alternatives for a starving world. What about your crap? I tell you, I'd rather eat dirt. So I drink Life Change Tea. It's an herbal drink, cleansing my body of toxic sludge and nasty chemicals, and of course, ridding the intruders that are hidden in my so-called food. And by the way, Life Change Tea is non-GMO and organic. No fillers, no yuck. Just a great defense against you-know-what. May the supplement force awaken you. Don't fall to the dark side. Sorry. I went to the movies last night. Anyway, enough said. How do you get that herbal drink and change your life? GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. You will awaken. You will get stronger, and you might even lose a bit of weight. So awaken to Life Change Tea and the many one-of-a-kind supplements at GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. May the supplement force be with you.
We all have questions. Did he do it or did he not? We all have opinions, but do we really know the truth? New evidence will now be presented and the ultimate answers will be revealed in the explosive documentary, Serpents Rising. Inspired by the bestseller, Double Cross for Blood, an independent investigation of the trial of the century, the lies, the myths, and the concealed evidence. Don't miss Serpents Rising.
This excellent documentary film is available at Serpents Rising at Vimeo Videos on demand. Watch it for $1.99. You can have your ad played here at OppermanReport.com every Friday night, 5 p.m., and Saturday night, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And on Friday nights, too, we do a live portion for 1 hour that I just do a live monologue. The ads are very, very inexpensive, and they're also played in the Opperman Report member section. In the member section, you can find all kinds of exclusive content that you won't find anywhere else. It's as cheap as $6 a month, $20 a quarter, or $75 for a year. If you contact me directly at oppermanreport@gmail.com, I'll set you up with a little special deal there where you get a discount if you PayPal me directly, and you even get a copy of my book. I want to thank William Ramsey, who helps us produce the show and book guests. You can find William Ramsey, who's an excellent author, at William Ramsey Investigates on YouTube. Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. We're here today talking to Connor Frazier, who is the director behind The Babysitter, a new film about Nathan Forrest Winters and his abuse at the hands of Victor Silva. You can check it out at NathanForrestWinters.com. They got a little trailer there. And they got a GoFundMe, too, that you really check out. And like I said before in the last segment, when I was talking after the Nathan Forrest Winters interview, is GoFundMe is Taking Action Breaking Sounds. If you really want a spokesperson for this kind of thing, you know, that with clean hands and a clean, stable life, is Nathan Forrest Winters is the guy. He's very articulate and shares the story very well, and he would be a great advocate for victims in this kind of situation. Let me ask you a question, Connor. Now,
yeah,
I interview a lot of people, you know, when in the middle of the miserable subjects. I got a little PTSD myself from talking to so many people, you know, going to prisons, talking to witnesses, you know, or in a motel room talking to a witness, or interviewing them over the radio. Now, you're spending how many weeks? 2 weeks in a hotel room locked away with Nathan?
Yes, yeah, it was 2 weeks.
2 weeks, okay. Now, that has to bring up a lot of stuff for him. How'd you deal with that? How'd you deal with that?
It was like I'd said before, you know, having the stuff that we had, you know, kind of being able to play around, you know, it was a form of art therapy. I think that was what kept us sane throughout most of it, was just being able to, you know, we were developing a film around, I guess, essentially trying to pull these things out of his mind. You know, we didn't have a script. We didn't have like a, you know, all right, we need to talk about this, this, and this. You know, it was just, what do you want to talk about? You know, we built a film around that. So I think that helped a lot.
Now, right now, if I wanted to watch this film right now, I can't. It's not on Vimeo or YouTube or anything like that. Is it going to be screened at any festivals coming up?
We don't know yet. We've submitted it to festivals, and we're continuing to submit it. So far, we've gotten 2 rejections. So it seems like, the way that I say it, I'm like, you know, it seems to be a movie that people either love it or they hate it. There's really been no in-between. And that's kind of something to be proud of, I guess, because we've done something different.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it myself. I asked you before the commercial. Is there any way I can get a screener of this and take a look?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
good.
can send you one.
Okay, good. There you go. See, that's how you get the stuff done. Okay, great. Thank you so much, man. Because now I'm intrigued, and it's such a fascinating story. But now, do you think that some of the reasons why it might be rejected is because no one wants to piss off Francis Ford Coppola? It was like, you know, the Pope. You know what I mean? Like, could that be a possibility?
You know, and what's so funny about it is that the movie does not go into that much detail about Francis. It's really more about Victor. So I don't know. I think I don't know. I mean, the 2 places that we had been rejected, you know, that I'm not really worried about. It was like one in Brazil,
okay.
You know, and I don't think Brazil is really worried about Victor Salva. But, you know, if it doesn't, you know, if the festival thing is a failure, I don't think it will be. I think we'll be accepted. into at least a couple, but I've also been talking with people about getting it distributed online through DVD. And we also have somebody that we've been talking to about trying to get it distributed theatrically through a certain company. So there's different kinds of, I guess, different avenues that we can take. We're just trying to sort through them and see which ones are going to work and which ones aren't. But, at the end of the day, that's another thing that I like about Nathan, is at the end of the day, it's not about, how much, it's not about it being seen on giant screens, all around the country. If people are seeing it and it's affecting them, then that's what's important. Nathan doesn't really mind. He wasn't expecting anything out of it, and I think that helps a lot, because this is like my first thing. I couldn't guarantee him massive amounts of attention, but he still took it because that's the avenue he wanted to go. He wanted it to be organic, and that's what I want it to be. People are going to find it for themselves.
Yeah, even if ultimately it winds up on Vimeo and YouTube, it's still important work, and it's a good thing you got this out here, make people aware of what's going on. Now, what about you? What are you going to be working on next? Are you going to stick with this kind of advocacy kind of stuff, or you got something else in mind?
I have me and Nathan have talked about getting back together and doing something. Not right this second, at least give it a year.
Yeah.
I think we're both going to want a break, because it's so emotional. You're dealing with really touchy subjects, and it just wears you down. So, we'll take some time off, and then we'll come back around. But I personally have a project that I'm working on. I'm in pre-production on now with a lovely girl named Amy Pierce, who believes she is the reincarnation of a silent film actress named Lucille Rickson, who died at the age of 14.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, that's my next thing. Hopefully, this is God willing.
That's interesting.
Because it's never exact. You never know what's going to be the next thing. It's however it works out, it works out.
Now,
that's the goal.
Has she gone through past life regression, hypnosis?
I don't think so. I think it's just something her family accepted it, and they've just kind of gone from there with it. She was on a show, I can't remember what it was called, but it was on Lifetime. It was called Ghost Inside My Child. That's what it was called. And the episode was called, the silent film star and the man who fell far, because they always do, 2 kids per episode. And she's maybe a couple months older or younger than me. We're about the same age. And she just looks like she's out of a silent film. I mean, she's got this haunting quality about her. But she's very sweet, she's very gentle, but you also feel like, it's almost like she's got this lion inside of her. She's very courageous, very intelligent. And we're actually going to be getting together in August to meet face-to-face to talk the film. She's currently working on the script, so...
Yeah, I did an interview with this cop, a retired detective who went through past life regression hypnosis, and he's convinced he's lived many past lives. Did 2 hours with him on the show. It is an interesting topic. Now,
it is.
It is. Yeah, it is. It's out there. It's different, but it's it's good stuff.
And it's still got a little bit of those vibes, that this film has. Industry, abuse. But my goal with it, and it's something I told her from the get-go, it's like I just got done doing an activism piece. I kind of just want to let this tell its own story. I don't want us to try to throw anything into it to try to make it into an activism piece. Just let the story tell itself, and however people react to it, that's how they're going to react to it, Yeah,
I got you. We're almost out of time. What do you want to leave us with about the film, The Babysitter? What should we know about it, and what do you want to tell us?
My hope for everybody, of course, is that they enjoy it, and I've had a lot of fun doing it. It's been an insane journey. It was literally just, throughout the course of a year, your entire life changes, and I've been very blessed and humbled by it. We worked really hard on it, and I think we've hit the nail right on the head. It's a profound piece of work. And I'm not just saying that because I directed it. I mean, Nathan had such a large hand in that. You know, had I done it with anybody else, it wouldn't have been the kind of movie that it is. So just keep an eye out for it. You know, it's going to get out there. You know, we've kind of, you know, we haven't really, there's question marks, you know, as to when it's going to be out, but it's going to be out this year, hell or high water. And we look forward for you to see it.
No, definitely. And I congratulations, man. You know, for a young guy, 21 years old, you hit the jackpot with this, because this is riveting material, you know, and you got the guy. It's you can't lose here with this. So thank you so much, man. Connor Frazier. God bless you, brother. And how can people get a hold of you besides Facebook? Just Connor Frazier on Facebook?
Yeah, Connor Frazier on Facebook. You know, my profile picture, I'm sitting there standing looking very, very deep. Okay. Very purple. So it's pretty easy to see.
What about this email I have, the babysitter documentary at gmail.com?
That is Nathan and I. That's kind of like our joint email where we, you know, we'll take on different loads, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes I'll answer emails, sometimes he'll answer emails, sometimes other people will answer emails. So that is a good way to get, if you want to get in touch with all of us, that's a good way to do it. The
babysitter documentary at gmail.com if you want to volunteer or help support the cause here or whatever. Or you want to book them for an interview. The great guests, both these guys. Thank you so much, Connor Frazier.
Thank you very much.
Good night. Okay, they had Connor Frazier from the movie The Babysitter about Nathan Forrest Winters. I got to thank Mike Parziali for bringing me this topic here and telling me the stories. It was, you know, and then I located Nathan Forrest Winters, and at the time, he'd only done this one little interview with some guy on YouTube or something like that, and it was just, I hate to say it, but it was pretty horrible. But Nathan's a great guest, man. So check out the 2-hour interview I did with him. And just did an hour with him about the film here that just came out. Great stuff, man. Nathan Forrest Winters and Connor Frazier, thank you so much. NathanForrestWinters.com. And their GoFundMe is Taking Action, Breaking Silence. And I got to tell you, man, if you want to support this kind of cause, I've been behind the scenes with the whole Corey Feldman, Corey Haim bunch, all of them. I dealt with all of them. I did a 2-hour show recap called the Corey Story Circus, okay, about that whole bunch, man. And it's just a nightmare. They raised hundreds of thousands of dollars, and nothing's going to be done with it to promote this kind of cause. But GoFundMe, Taking Action, Breaking Silence, Nathan Forrest Winters. I can really endorse this guy. Get behind him, guys. If you enjoy the show, check out OppermanReport.com. That's where we have our members section. Got a big thing in the news right now with Brian McCracken and the Arliss Perry story. I just promoted that. You can catch that. I just did another interview with Brian McCracken, but the original one I did with him, the details, every little detail of that story is in the members section. You can't beat that. I got Joe Gazebo Michaels just interviewed me for 90 minutes. That's going in the members section before I leave. Nathan Stoppelman interviewed me for an hour, I believe it was. You can find it on his Facebook page, but it's also going to be on his YouTube. But also, too, you can find it in my members section. I'm going to have that there. So a lot of great content in the members section. That's what helps support the show. That's what keeps the show on the air. And that's what funds things like this trip I'm taking to California right now to investigate the McMartin preschool case. And this isn't just, hey, I'm looking into this for the first time. I got a really genuine witness there that I can get a statement from. And there's documents down there that I can get a hold of that will blow the lid off this case, trying to raise funds to get out there. If you want to become a member, 13 months for $60, contact me at OppermanReport@gmail.com. Thank you so much, Connor Frazier. Thank you, Nathan Forrest Winters. And God bless you both, man, for the work you're doing. GoFundMe, Taking Action, Breaking Silence. Well, thank you so much. We'll be right back after this. I want to give a shout out to Shane McKay. You know, there's a lot of obstacles to producing the show and to recording the shows and doing these interviews, especially when you're dealing with the phone service and overseas phone calls and Skype, the audio levels of the guest and the host. So what we do now is when I record these shows, before we air the shows, except for the live segment I do Friday nights, we send the audio file over to Ireland, to Shane McKay. It's spelled S-E-I-N. And it's a gentleman, he came up from Ireland and he volunteered to take my audio and enhance it and edit it down. And now even too, he's editing the commercials for me in and out. And he's our resident audio engineer. And he's doing all this just to supporting the show here. provides high-quality audio and music production services remotely from his professional sound studio over there in Ireland. So if I can send him my tapes from here in the U.S., I send him email him the MP3. You could do this from anywhere in the world, wherever you are, England, Ireland, the United States, wherever you are, and Shane can handle it for you. He does audio editing and mastering, production management and technical support, audio enhancement and restoration, sound technician, and you can find him on Upwork.com under SEIN and then the letter M. M as in McKay. But his email address, SEINMACKAY@gmail.com. Shane, I can't thank you enough for helping out here and all you do for us. He's an Irish lad up there in Ireland. We don't hold that against him, though. A lot of good folks up there now. Let's see what we're doing here on time. Once they're locked in that car, they think they got to listen to the show. iHeart, iTunes, Spreaker, Podbean, Podcast, YouTube, all that stuff. Played everywhere, all over the place. You can't miss the show. 10 different internet stations, People's Internet Radio, a public streaming network, awakeradio.us, IPM Nation, and now on Ocelli.com, on Chuck Ocelli put us on his station. So you can't, it's a rock bottom prices to advertise on the show, and that's how you help support the show. Also become a member, OppermanReport.com, or contact me for a discount, OppermanReport@gmail.com. Thank you so much, John Elite. I'm looking forward to being stalked by all these characters here. He got me hooked up with www.elitedarkesthour.com. That's ALITE